everyone, I'm Kelly. I'm from the University of Guyana. I'm currently a volunteer at the Litter Enforcement Unit at the EPA, and I'm just urging you Guyanese people to dispose of your garbage properly.
Research has shown that the behavior trait of littering is complex and can be attributed to a variety of sources, including deliberate tossing of litter from vehicles, accidental litter from items blowing out of vehicles or from unsecured loads, and litter left behind by pedestrians. Littering is not a consistent behavior. Individuals can be influenced by a number of factors, including a belief that an item is not litter, such as a cigarette butt or banana peel. Laziness, perceived lack of consequences for their actions, seeing litter already in a given area, or a lack of trash receptacles.
It is an offense for a person to deposit litter in a public place. Now, there are three key elements in that offense. There's deposit, litter, and a public place. In terms of deposit means to either physically discard or to cause litter to be discarded. Litter is described very widely under the Act. It encompasses solid matter, liquid, a combination of both, dirt, grass, soil. Anything can be considered litter under the regulations. And also a public place means any expanse of land that is not privately owned. So any person who is found guilty of depositing litter in a public place is liable upon conviction to pay a fine of $50,000 in the case of a private individual. In the case of a corporation, that fine is doubled to $100,000.
This week on Dorado Shines, officers from the Environmental Protection Agency's Litter Enforcement Unit take to the streets in their ongoing effort to spread awareness and encourage citizens to comply with litter regulations.
Over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we will be working the commercial, we work within this commercial zone, Central Georgetown, including Avenue of the Republic, Church Street, Water Street, and I Street. So this is the zone we're working for over the next 3 weeks, and within this zone we've identified some sites or area where we have an accumulation of waste or a collection of garbage. For example, the one behind us here, this is one of the areas we've identified. We're enforcing under 5 thematic areas: education, physical intervention, infrastructure, stakeholders' involvement, and enforcement, including issuing fines and citation order. Now, we're not doing this alone. We're doing this in collaboration with Solid Waste Management, also city engineer. All right, they have committed to work along with us to clean, because our first order today is getting these areas clean and clear of garbage. So they have committed to us to having these areas clean and clear of garbage, like what we're seeing happening this morning. We will also be doing a piece on this area in terms of informing persons of the consequences of littering, informing persons of the hotspots where they're located or where the littering collection of garbage is located, and the consequence of having such garbage within your workspace. For example, flooding, clogging of drains, the scent. If you stand here, you can smell it right now, the scent that is coming off of these collections of garbage, of waste. Also, the unsanitary, condition in terms of varmints and encouraging the rats and roaches and flies. So we're doing a publication on that. Let persons know, listen, you have this hotspots in your area, you have this collection of garbage at your area that actually persons are adding to. and the consequence of these garbage within your work zone, and the benefits of having it clear, and also not only clear but maintain the sustainability of what we're doing needs to be ensured. So we'll be working with the businesses around. You see, like hand in hand, NBS, GT&T, the library, and so on. We're meeting with the business and we'll be working with them in ensuring or sustaining this program.
As business operators, we need to be responsible.
Stop littering. Do the right thing.
When you litter your surroundings, you affect your public health and the integrity of the environment. Join the collective effort and keep Guyana clean, green, and healthy.
Be our brothers and sisters keeper. We can just tell the next person who you see down. That's a bad habit. And for all of us, we will have a healthier environment.
Stop littering. Do the right thing.
We're meeting with bus drivers, bus operators, vendors, businesses around, reminding them of the litter regulation and the fines that comes with it. Now, concerning the bus drivers, we're telling them that they need to provide receptacles in their bins so that passengers will not have the cost to dumping outside of the windows, and we would have given them 2 days time to get the receptacles in their bus. If they would have failed to comply with such recommendation, a fine is going to be issued to them. A fine of $15,000 is the fine for not having a receptacle in your bus.
We dealt with the Pleasance, UG Industry, and also Vryselos Park, and we're asking them to please comply and have their bins in their buses.
Most of the buses have in bins.
Most of the buses have
and they are complying.
Okay.
And further afield, we had cleaned up this whole area here with the cooperation of the City Council. And we are happy for what we have done. It cost us a lot of money through our own efforts. We did it with the assistance of businesses around. And we don't have a problem, but I think fining minibus people $15,000 for not having receptacle in their vehicle is not welcome, because we cannot control the passengers if they want to throw it or not.
They would have been given a 2 days period in which to comply with this regulation. The litter wardens will be within these areas, meeting again with the bus operators, and they will be checking to see if the bus operators have actually complied with the regulations. Failure to do so, they will be issued a fine of $15,000. Now, for second offenders, the fine will be doubled. It will be $30,000. And we will go on until persons understand that they need to comply with litter regulations.
If a person is in a vehicle that's traveling along a roadway and the person deposits litter from that vehicle, then that person would be liable under that particular offense. And if it's a situation where there are a number of persons in the vehicle and it can't be ascertained exactly who is the person that's responsible for depositing that litter, then in that situation, the driver of the vehicle would be held liable. But that is only in the case of private vehicles, not for public transportation.
I always encourage the passengers not to throw garbage out of the window.
Stop littering. Do the right thing.
I just think that littering is very bad, and I think that we all as Guyanese should just stop littering, get a piece of garbage, just put it in a bin and that's it.
We should help come out and keep the city clean.
Do the right thing. Put it in a bin. Throw the tin in the bin.
Stop littering. Do the right thing.
This is one of the example of illegal dumping in Georgetown. We're at the corner of Crowell Street at the stoplight. One of the tasks that a litter warden would have to do in order to gather information and evidence, we would normally go through the garbage, literally, physically, to gather information in order to apprehend the perpetrators. This was done yesterday. One perpetrator was apprehended. He was fined, and it was a business owner. So this fine would be $100,000 for that person. The person was issued with a fine, and he is also issued with a notice to attend court. This was also done on Mandela Avenue at the back road, and 3 persons were also identified, and they were also fined.
Our legal officer is actually handling that case. It's no longer, we're not using the MNCC prosecutor. So we have our legal in-house legal officer who will actually take that matter to court. So once there is up to now the court to determine what penalties to lay out to those 3 individuals. The situation started again. I mean, it was cleaned up. I passed there yesterday. It's there the same way as well. So I have instructed the litter wardens to go keep that. That is the whole thing. We're gonna let the public know that we are going through the garbage. If we have to go and every single bit of it, we'll do it to catch you.
We're urging persons not to dump because it's illegal. One, it's not good on your health. The challenges that litter warden would have to go through on the road on a daily basis would be physical and also verbally abused, because, for example, when we were on Pleasance Bus Park, we were also physically and verbally abused just now. We think of Guyana of our home. That's why we try to clean it. When you go home, you would not want to see your place nasty. You go home, you meet your place dirty, you get all angry, you find a passion. That's how we feel when we go around Georgetown, seeing this place very nasty. We try at all times to keep it clean, and these fines will be issued whether or not you're responsible for it, as long as it's on your carpet, on the government reserve, or it can be your private property. You will be charged for illegal dumping.
We have been trying the education and awareness aspects. At first, we've been telling people that it's against the law. We've promoted the regulations, promoting what are the offenses and what are the penalties. With the litter wardens on the ground now, one of the major challenges is the safety of the litter wardens. Recognizing some of the folks out there maybe on sound mind, or they just clearly want to be aggressive to get. So that aggressive behavior is kind of causing a little difficulty with our officers. And what we're trying to do in that regard is to ensure that the police force is there to assist us. I mean, recognizing the police force have their own issues with crime and what's going on and so on. However, we, as part of the regulation, the police force also are supposed to actually enforce these regulations. So we're working with Commissioner of Police to trickle down that information, to ask the police as well to provide assistance to us, as well as enforcing the law, which is a law of Guyana. We're working also with some community policing groups who have expressed interest in wanting to work with. So we'll provide them the authority as well, and they can provide assistance in terms of dealing with aggressive, difficult persons. So our first line of defense is when somebody's aggressive, we would withdraw and try to secure assistance.
We must do everything we can to keep our surroundings clean.
Stop littering. Do the right thing.
Litter not only defaces the natural environment, it is also unhealthy and irresponsible. Don't you want to enjoy the beauty and enormous services our environment offers? Then why not be the change you want to see? Let us work together to eliminate the repulsive habit of littering.
Stop littering. Do the right thing.
The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is a collection of marine debris in the North Pacific Ocean. Marine debris is litter that ends up in oceans, seas, and other large bodies of water. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch, also known as the Pacific Trash Vortex, spans waters from the west coast of North America to Japan. The patch is actually comprised of the Western Garbage Patch, located near Japan, and the Eastern Garbage Patch, located between the U.S. states of Hawaii and California. In Guyana, dumping of garbage on the seawall and beaches along the coast, particularly in Georgetown, is engaging the attention of the Environmental Protection Agency.
What's happening there, it's clearly, I don't know who are responsible. I suspect it may be vendors from along the seawall there, bandstand, because the majority are food boxes and PET bottles and so on. But also Guyana, and I want to make a point, Guyana is sharing marine waters. And the coastal currents from Brazil all the way up to Venezuela, that brings a lot of marine debris from other countries. So there's a transboundary issue as well. But that doesn't bar in mind of what we are also contributing in the marine environment. And I want to start, and we're developing our ICZM program, to support that with our litter program, preventing land-based sources of pollution, which includes litter, marine litter, and the impacts on the environment, marine environment, on our marine life, our turtles, because turtles eat plastic, thinking it's jellyfish. It's also, I mean, if you know, there are talks about gyres and all different major oceans where there are huge piles of garbage. Unfortunately, the Atlantic is not there as yet, but we want to prevent that from happening. And all these things are being washed back up as well with the tides and washed up into our rivers and so on. And they keep, so it's a ebb and flow, in and out garbage, what you're contributing and what's coming from other countries as well.
Get the section. Hey, let's go. Tell me if you're ready. Signal if you're ready. Show me that you're ready.
The recent Mashimani celebration saw a new approach being taken by the EPA to directly engage the public during the event in an effort to minimize the dumping of garbage.
We would have been focusing on vendors having receptacles, and the litter wardens would be there patrolling the streets and enforcing the litter regulations. And then the third thing was the collaboration with the Mayor and City Council to ensure that there's cleanup after. Well, I can say we were successful in terms of the vendors ensuring that they have receptacles. The Ministry of Environment and the EPA, we provided receptacles as well, and garbage bags, we shared it around. That was a success. However, the enforcement aspect was a little tricky. I mean, this is the first time we are doing such a large event as Mashimani, and recognizing the small staff complement we have. The officers were not able to, to pick up anybody and charge them on the spot. I think what happened during the day, people were complying, but the after hours, when the officers left, that's when the imbibing and what's not occurred, and that's when most of the garbage end up remaining along the carpets and so on. I mean, so we're learning from that experience. We hope that the next one we can be much more prepared in the short time that we had in this case. In terms of the cleanup, I agree there was a lot of places, a lot of garbage that remained. The cleanup from MNCC didn't happen immediately as we expected, and barring for whatever reasons they may have had, but I don't know. However, we continued ensuring and asking them to clean up as fast as possible. And so within 3 days, I believe, 3 days post the event, that's when the cleaning occurred. I mean, at least there was an effort. It's not left there for entire 2 weeks or 3 weeks. There was some effort. So at least we're seeing some sort of stronger collaboration, and particularly from the solid waste division of the MNCC. But bearing in mind what their difficulties are, and I don't have to say what those are. I mean, that's it. So in essence, I would say it was a learning experience for the EPA to enforce the litter prevention regulations at these major events as the MASH, and we have learned from it.
We have one planet. We have one Earth. And if we're going to deal with an issue as huge and as challenging and as threatening as climate change, we need to operate as a team. Nations have to work together. States have to work together. Peoples have to work. Communities have to work. Businesses have to work.
Now's the time to confront this challenge once and for all. Delay is no longer an option. The stakes are too high. The consequences too serious.
We will not succeed in addressing climate change if we do not include within any treaty REDD+, reducing emissions from deforestation and degradation of land, plus protecting standing forests where they still stand.
The relationship between deforestation and climate change is direct. There's a double whammy. First of all, deforestation contributes greater emissions to the atmosphere, increasing the problem. Secondly, deforestation lessens the planet's ability to absorb that carbon dioxide.
The destruction of the rainforest in Indonesia has been linked to the worst droughts in Australia in the last 10,000 years. The destruction of the rainforest in Amazon have been linked to some of the worst droughts which are currently occurring across America.
If we lose the forest, we are going to lose the water, we are going to lose the biodiversity, we are going to lose a lot of things that we have only in the natural labs.
Forests provide us with many different benefits in the form of ecosystem services.
The loss of forests particularly impacts the world's poorest populations. They're dependent upon those natural ecosystems for the water that they drink,
for agriculture,
for medicinal plants, or building their homes.
And of course, they're a source of many other products that local communities use on a daily basis.
Reducing emissions from deforestation is an immediate option. It's one of the few immediate options that exist. Other solutions, which are critically necessary, wind, water, solar, etc., will have a lag of 10 to 20 years.
Conserving standing forests is not only one of the fastest and most efficient means of tackling climate change, but also delivers a host of other benefits.
Kyoto provided for carbon credits for reforestation, but unfortunately, and to the surprise of many of us, did not recognize standing forest.
If we can come up with brilliant ideas to try to keep the rainforest standing, that's going to make the battle much easier to win. And I think Conservation International is uniquely positioned to address this issue head on.
I asked a local farmer, why is it cut the forest? They said, to survive. I said, hey, earning money by chopping forest is not good. But I still didn't have anything in my pocket to start reforest.
We now have a solution to this problem in the form of REDD, compensating villagers, regions, countries for maintaining their tropical forests because of the great carbon value.
It is very important that indigenous people share with the benefits, precisely because we are the ones who have kept these forests intact.
It's very important right from the get-go to demonstrate that this can actually work in practical terms. This can actually be carried out in the field, that it's not some theoretical concept.
Conservation International is working on forest carbon projects throughout the world. By having this portfolio of models, CI is developing the knowledge of how REDD works in practice.
We've seen companies like the Dells and the Starbucks and the Walmarts being really interested in how do they reduce their own emissions.
We've worked with CI in purchasing carbon credits.
We have the ability to provide scientific tools. We have a deep reservoir of technical knowledge.
Peter Seligman had a vision of how Walmart could influence sustainability issues through its own activities as well as product selection.
We have participated very closely with the governor of California in the California Conference on Climate Change.
The governors that are signing these MOUs with us manage more than 60% of the world's tropical forests.
Another example is Guyana and Norway.
A little over a year ago, I joined with Conservation International to call for the inclusion of forests in the global fight against climate change. In that year, the world again lost an area of forest the size of my country, which is larger than England.
The model is Norway provides funding to Guyana, and that the benefits from the funding from Norway are distributed in an equitable manner to the people who live in those forests.
A number of countries that have had historically very low deforestation rates, like Guyana, like Suriname, initially were off the table in discussions of REDD. But we demonstrated that these high forest cover, low deforestation rate countries accounted for more than 30% of the world's tropical forests, and they had to be part of the overall vision.
This is a challenge that faces the human family. The only way that we can address these issues is through deep, broad partnerships. And that's what CI is committed to.
Check us out on the internet for this and every episode of Dorado Shines. Just go to YouTube, search for Dorado Shines and start watching. Or like us on Facebook and receive instant updates. You've been watching Dorado Shines. Do join us again next week for another program. Until then, do remember that we all have a role to play in protecting the environment.